Hi everyone, I feel like it's been a while since I posted a video on my channel and I do apologize for that, but it's a new year and I'm gonna try to do better at it. So this channel has been around for a year now, which is incredible because I never thought I would keep it going for this long. And I guess I will start this off by talking about the Goodreads challenge for 2016. I wanted to read 80 books. I unfortunately shamed myself by reading only 73 of those books and coming pretty close but not being able to achieve the goal, which, as heartbreaking as it was, in the end I thought it was okay. So I wasn't too sad about that. For this year, in 2017, I've decided to lower my expectations a little bit and sort of take a little bit of pressure off and not feel like I constantly have to keep reading as fast as possible just to keep up with the challenge. So I decided to read 40 books, and I will probably read more than that, but I like being able to have that flexibility, being able to read longer books, not always feeling like I have to keep reading constantly, otherwise I'll fall behind. It's just too much pressure, and I don't know, it didn't work out too well for me, so I think I will just like to take my time. Also in this video I'm going to talk about my December reading. I didn't read that many books in December, but they were pretty decent books, so let's get right to it. The first book that I read is called Before the Fall, and I got this book through NetGalley, and I thought it was going to be a really interesting read. It's about a plane crash. There's a private plane with a bunch of important people on it. There's two families and a random guy who's an artist who's just trying to make it, pretty much, and sort of everybody dies in this plane crash except for this artist and a little boy who's a son of one of those influential people. And then things are sort of very sketchy. No one knows who caused the plane crash, what happened, if it was an accident or if it was premeditated, nobody knows. And I feel like it seemed a little bit more promising in the synopsis that I've read rather than the actual story. It was okay. I didn't like the main character, this being the artist who survived, and I just felt like the story was very bland. There's no huge twist to it. I wasn't surprised in the end. It was just, I don't know, it was okay, but overall it wasn't a very suspenseful thriller like I thought it was going to be, and I feel like that's what they made it out to be. They made it out to be like it's going to be this crazy suspenseful thriller. So I gave this book 3 stars, thought it was okay, didn't blow my socks off, but it was worth the read, I guess. The next book that I read is called The Couple Next Door, and this is about a couple who live in a townhome, so they have another sort of house that's attached right to theirs. And they end up going to a dinner party there one night, and they leave their 6-month-old child behind. And they keep checking up on the child every 30 or so minutes, and everything seems to be okay until they show up back at their home at the end of the night, and their child is missing. Now this book, it definitely had some very promising things going on there, and I've had pretty high expectations when I started reading it. I was very captivated. I didn't really know who the kidnapper was and what was going on there, so that was pretty surprising to me when everything sort of emerged and you learned who the kidnapper was and what was actually going on and all that. But none of the characters I felt were very relatable or likable. I didn't really like any of them. They all seemed very selfish. I don't know, they just seemed like they cared about themselves more than they cared about their missing child. So that's the only thing that didn't work out for me too well. It was a pretty interesting read though, so I gave this book 4 stars. I feel like I've seen it being compared to like The Girl on the Train and books like that, and I think that happens way too often, and then when you read one of these books that is compared to the books you really like, it doesn't live up to the expectations. So I feel like that's probably what caused the little bit of disappointment for me, is that it was compared to a book that I really liked and then it just didn't live up to it. So overall, I think it's a pretty interesting read if you like thrillers and just unsuspecting things happening here and there, so it was a pretty decent read. The next book that I read is called The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and I've been meaning to read this book for a very long time and I've heard pretty good things about it, but I don't know. I feel like it turned out to be a lot different than what I expected. This is about a girl who I guess is a student in the university, and she slowly goes crazy. I feel like I missed the part where she started going crazy. Like, I know some parts she was like, yeah, I can't sleep all night and this and that, but overall I missed the parts where she was going crazy. I don't know, it's just me or that I wasn't paying enough attention. Or I don't know where it happened that she just went off the rails a little bit. So I feel like for me, I was like reading it, and at times I was like, yeah, she is crazy, and other times I was like, oh, maybe she isn't. So overall, it was a slightly confusing read, but it was well written, so that made up for it, so I was enjoying it. I ended up giving this book 4 stars just because it was an enjoyable read, and the ending was, I don't know, different than what I thought was going to happen. So overall, it was a good time. The next book that I read is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I've been wanting to read this book for a while, even though I knew what it was about. And I feel like everyone knows what this book is about, just because even without reading it, you sort of know that Dr. Jekyll takes this potion that turns him into Mr. Hyde. And there are some complications with that, and then eventually he stops being able to control those changes that happen to him, so he just starts going all over the place, turning into Mr. Hyde all the time, and just doing very questionable activities. And this whole thing is very surprising to Dr. Jekyll's friends, who have no idea what's going on, and they don't know who Mr. Hyde is, and it's just a huge revelation to them whenever they find out about this double life. It's a very short read, and I wish I read this book without knowing how it turns out and what actually happens, and I wish I could sort of be in on the surprise in the end, but unfortunately I feel like everyone probably knows about this book. If you didn't and I just spoiled it for you, I do apologize, but I think everyone probably knows how this book goes. And even with that being said, and knowing the twist at the end, I still enjoy this book very much, and I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a quick read. The next book that I read was A Long Time Coming, and I probably should have read it a long time ago, and this is Catching Fire. This is the second book in the Hunger Games. Like I said before, at some point last year, this is my first time reading these books. I don't know why I never picked them up when they first came out, but I'm just getting to them now, and they're pretty enjoyable. I feel like I like this book better than the first one, just because there's more going on. It wasn't as predictable as the very first one that I read. I feel like because I was spoiled on it, and I knew that, you know, everything was going to be okay, and like they were going to make it, that sort of thing. Here, I didn't really know. I mean, I knew there was another book after this, but it was just, I didn't know what to expect from it. I didn't know what was going to happen, so it was definitely a lot more surprising, and I gave this book 4 stars. I finished it pretty quickly, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where the story goes in the end and how it all resolves. I feel like I might know how it all ends, but maybe I don't. I don't know. I'll have to read and see. And finally, a book that I just finished reading a couple of days ago, which is technically in January, but I read a big chunk of it in December, so I feel like it's only right that it's included with the December books. And this is The Woman in Cabin 10. I heard so much about it, everyone seems to love it, and I was thinking, okay, I'll read this book. I think it was compared to Agatha Christie's book, And Then There Were None. I feel like that's very false, because And Then There Were None is amazing. This book was good. I gave it 4 stars, but I don't know, I had my suspicions about what happened in it. Basically in this book, a woman goes on like a cruise in like the Scandinavian countries, and there she encounters a woman briefly who then disappears off the boat, and she's suspecting that the woman who disappeared, the woman in cabin 10, has been murdered. And then sort of no one really has heard of this woman before, no one believes her, everyone's just weirded out by this whole thing, and then it gets a little bit out of control later on. I didn't really like the main character that much. Maybe that's why it wasn't as good of a reading experience for me. And I don't know, it seemed a little bit predictable. Like, I had my suspicions about what might be going on there. There was a twist, and like, you're not really expecting what actually ends up happening, but I don't know. I feel like they could have made it a little bit even more shocking in the end. Either way, it was a decent book, and I'd be curious to read other books by this author. I think she has a couple of different thriller suspense books, so that will be interesting to read. Anyway, so this is my wrap up. Please let me know if you read any of these books and what you thought about them, and also please let me know what you're reading right now and if there's anything good that you've come across that I should probably know about. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you again very soon.